So I would like to thank everyone for joining me today for our monthly Modifier Monday webinar. My name is Karen Curtis, and I am a provider outreach and education specialist here at WPS Government Health Administrators. I'm joined today by my friend and coworker, Aline Sigler. Aline will be watching the chat for questions, and she'll be providing some additional information from time to time. We have had a lot of requests that have come in for education on specific modifiers. And today I just wanted to take a little bit different approach for our modifier series. And I wanted to show you tools that will allow you to get information on different modifiers when you want it. And I'm hoping that the information that I provide you today will be helpful and will assist you in performing your job duties. This slide is our disclaimer. We do our best to provide the most up-to-date education possible. Just remember that Medicare rules do change often, so the CMS website should be checked. When answering questions, we do so based on the information given. So if any part of the scenario were to change, that could change the response that we gave. Medicare rules and regulations will make the final determination. I also like to let you know that CMS does prohibit recording of this presentation, so we ask that you don't record or take screenshots of today's webinar. As I mentioned earlier, we are recording this event and we'll post it to our training center on the Encore presentations webpage and also to our YouTube channel once it's ready. The agenda for today is to provide you with resources that will hopefully help you with understanding of modifiers and their use. So I know that I gave you slides that kind of go over the different tools to use, but I'm going to get out of my presentation and I'm actually going to go to the live web pages. Aline, can you verify that you can see the WPS website?
Yes, I can, Karen.
Okay, great. So the first resource is our very own WPS GHA website. We do have quite a few fact sheets out here for different modifiers, and there are a couple ways to access this modifier information. The first way is that if you come over here under the quick links, there is a modifiers link. So if we go to that, it will take us directly to our web page. And by going through this option, it breaks down the fact sheets by topics. So it has like ambulance, anesthesia. As I scroll down a little bit, you can kind of just see how it broke all those down into different groupings. These topics do change depending on what jurisdiction that you've taken. So if I go to B, if I change B, then I do get some different fact sheets that may not necessarily be if I had chosen the Part A jurisdiction. Another way that you can access this is if you go to the Topic Center and then go to Claims. And if you view the A to Z list, and I kind of scroll this down here. It does have a whole list of all the different fact sheets that we have for modifiers. It also has the link back to the actual modifier page that we were still on. So I just wanted to show you a few ways so that you could decide what was best for you. The second tool I'd like to talk about is the WPS GHA YouTube. There are a couple ways for you to watch our videos. First, you can go directly to YouTube, and if you've not already subscribed to our channel, you can go ahead and do that, and that way you'll receive notification when we've added new content and updated things. If I go to the playlist that we have, Let me scroll down here. We do have an actual modifier playlist, and it has a lot of the encores that we've had from Modifier Mondays. There were some that were not Modifier Mondays. We have an excluded services one here. We have gender specific services. Global surgery modifiers was another one. We can also go, if I go back, oops, sorry. We could also do a search here. I know a lot of people asked about KX modifier. So if I do a search for that, we'll get all of the different videos that have to deal with usage of the KX modifier. One of the other ones that I got was about using modifiers GY and GZ along with destination. That one, although it is under the modifier playlist, we can also go, sorry, let me find this real quick. If we go to the ambulance suppliers, Tom just had a Modifier Monday on April 1st, and he went over the ambulance origin and destination modifiers. So that's out there for you to access to give you some information there. Now, if maybe if your company doesn't allow you to access YouTube from your work computers, we do have it. If we go back to the WPS GHA and we go to the training center and we go to the Encore presentations, we do have a player added so that you can actually watch the YouTube video from our website. So that would give you a different option. If you can't actually go out to YouTube, you can also access it through our website. So hopefully that would help some of you. Now, the ones on the website, they'll only stay here for about 90 days. But if you ever do want information on something that's not out there, you can email us at the education mailbox that I gave you earlier, and we can get the information to you. The next thing, our next tool to use is the Medicare claims processing manuals. Now, the CMS Internet only manuals have modifier information throughout the chapters, but the example that I'm showing on the slide is the Medicare Claims Processing Manual, and it's Chapter 4, Section 20.6. So this section has many subsections that addresses the different modifiers and details. So if I scroll down here a little bit, you can kind of see where it breaks out each of the modifiers and talks about the usage of them. I did find that there was also information in Chapter 12, which is for physicians and non-physician practitioners. And there's also information in Chapter 18 under the preventive services. So if you're looking up a specific preventive services and if a modifier applies to that service, it will be listed in the manual in that section on the service. The next resource we have here is how to use the Medicare National Correct Coding or NCCI tools. And I do have to apologize for not having this link in the resource list. So I'm going to have Aline add it to the link to the chat. And if it is something that you'd like me to email out to everybody, then just drop something in the chat and I can get it sent out. I specifically wanted to point out, if we go to page 8, They do have a link to a fact sheet on the proper use of modifiers 59, XE, XP, XS, and XU. If we go down, scroll a little slowly here, so. If we go down to page 10, it tells you how you know when a modifier can be used. So when you're looking at those, the code pairs in the NCCI tables, it tells you what you can look for to know if you can use a modifier in those. And I know sometimes I personally find that the NCCI tables can get a little confusing. So I feel like this is just a good guide overall to kind of help out with that. The next tool I have listed for you guys is the National Correct Coding Initiative. It has its own policy manuals, and the chapters are broken down by CPT codes, and many of them have information regarding modifiers that can be billed with the individual services. So I'm showing chapter 1 here as an example, because not only does it give examples of which modifiers can be used, but it also has a whole section beginning on page 14. So we're going to go to that. But it has a whole section on modifiers and modifier indicators. So I wanted to make sure that I provided this information for you guys too. Kind of goes through the different modifiers here. Okay, the next that we have here, this is the fact sheet that there was a link to in the NCCI, that booklet. This would be the link for the proper use of the modifiers. It provides definitions of the modifiers along with appropriate and inappropriate use. So it has appropriate and inappropriate use of the modifiers, tells you when you should use it. It was recently updated to add information for rural health clinics and for federally qualified health centers. The second fact sheet is in regards to the JG and TB modifiers. So this tells you that it added information on what might have the different categories that they should be used. Kind of talks about how starting January 1st of 2025, you're going to have to report the TB modifier on claims, even if you're using the JG. Gives a little bit of information there. So you can kind of see everything in red is just new. CMS has also created a couple fact sheets that I might be, a couple FAQs that I thought might be helpful. The first one is for billing the 340B modifiers. Kind of goes through the question and answer. It had general, but if I scroll down here a little bit, it does go into billing. So I thought this was kind of helpful. Tells you the facility type and what modifier to use depending on the drug, what status indicator those drugs have. And also has hospitals that are not paid under OPPS. So I thought that was helpful, and hopefully you guys will find that helpful. The second FAQ that they had was in regards to modifiers JW and JZ. So if you're looking for guidance specifically to billing claims and documentation, those start on page 14 here. go here. It's, oh, sorry, I got the wrong page. Kind of scroll down. Gives you what settings, proper billing. So I thought that was something else. I know that there has been a lot of questions on the JW and JZ modifier. We did actually just have a webinar on that not too long ago, so you could find that on our Encore presentations. So the final tool that I'd like to show you today is the Medicare Preventive Services. Personally, I find this tool really useful when it comes to preventive services billing. I did want to show you that if a modifier is required for specific services, you will be able to find billing information using this tool. So I wanted to show you a couple examples. The first one is the annual wellness visits. So if we scroll down to where it says the patient pays, it tells you that code 99497 and 99498, which are for advanced care planning, they should be billed with modifier 33 if the service was received on the same day as the annual wellness visit. Another one, if we go to the bone mass measurements, it has under the other notes, when these are billed together, you're going to want to attach the modifier XU. Has that for both of those. And then the last one I wanted to show you was for the colorectal cancer screening. And if we scroll down, it talks about modifier PT, about adding that to the claim. And down in the other notes, it has that too. So it talks about if the screening colonoscopy becomes a diagnostic, then code 00811 should be reported with the modifier PT. I am going to jump back to the presentation real quick. And excuse me while I scroll through this. So I did provide you with links to all the resources. Like I said, I'm really sorry that I left off that one. So I did have Aline add that, and I will email that out to everybody if you'd like me to. But I have all those, and then there was so many that we had the additional resources. So we got through all of those. I did have a lot. So before I go to Aline to ask if anything was put into the chat, I do want to address the specific modifiers that got entered during the registration process. The first one was about where to find guidance on modifier FS. And we do actually have on our website, let me go to, and we do have an article on right here, correct billing of split shared services for modifier FS information. Let me switch to J5B. So there is some information out there on guidance using modifier FS. There are also a lot of you that asked about the usage of modifier KX. So as I had showed you earlier, we do have a lot of videos on our YouTube channel that talk about the KX modifier. And then we also have, if I go back to the list, we also have a fact sheet down here on the KX modifier. So there's a couple options for you to find information on that specific modifier. Modifier 59 and the X modifiers were mentioned multiple times. So the Medicare Learning Network fact sheet covers those. And then we also do have some fact sheets on those. We do have some on our website. Under the National Correct Coding Initiative modifiers, you can find those. I also was asked about information on using modifier 59 versus 91. WPS GHA does have fact sheets on both of those modifiers. And when you take a look at those, you will find examples on both appropriate and inappropriate usage. So here we have the 59. So hopefully that will provide some clarification that you're looking for. The question about the ambulance modifiers with the GY and GZ, we went over that earlier. We do have that on our YouTube channel. That was an encore of Tom's. I did have a registrant ask if I could explain when to use modifier 58 versus 57. And we do have fact sheets on each of those modifiers, but we also had a webinar on global surgery modifiers last year, and that Encore presentation can be found on our YouTube channel in both the modifier and the Encore playlist. So hopefully that would give some clarification on those modifiers. Next, I was asked about information for modifiers 93 and 95 with place of service 02 and 10. And CMS does have a Medicare Learning Network booklet on telehealth that talks about modifier 95. Let me see if I can get, I am going to send out a couple links to that. I had a really hard time finding anything on modifier 93. There have been a couple of members of the post staff that have done webinars where modifier 93 was discussed. One was on telehealth at the end of the public health emergency, and that was held on last year on May 24th. So there is a link to that in our YouTube channel. And then there's also another one on mental health telehealth services. And that was also held last year. And that can also be found on our YouTube channel. Now, information on modifier JZ can be found on the WPS GHA modifier webpage. And there's also a Modifier Monday, which covered JW and JZ, which can be found on our YouTube channel. And I've also included the FAQs, the CMS FAQs on that one. So hopefully that'll get information that you're looking for. It looks like we're about to run out of time, so let me go back. Again, please, if you have any questions, if you have any modifiers I didn't get to that you still want information on, please just send those in and we'll get back to those. I get that information out to you guys. That does bring us to the end of today's presentation. Please keep an eye on our live events page to register for any upcoming events. On behalf of Provider Outreach and Education, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to your survey comments and we hope that you will join us for future events. You may now disconnect.